This shows different terms of material, narrative, character, all different, So before I was focusing on just color fields and different color in one composition, and then now, I finally got to meet the right material, which is airbrush. Everything makes sense in terms of my concept. I was, internet and digital, especially the early 21st century, 3D rendering, they are very important, and social media was important around my age, because back then when we were middle school, high school, that's when social media explodes, right? And that affects our personality. So this is kind of always been my main concept. Now I got to know this airbrush tool, which I started to use like in the end of 2019. It just makes sense because the texture of it is smooth, but it's high quality image of a blurry object. If you know what I mean. Like they are kind of blurry, they are raw, but they are high quality in terms of no matter how big you zoom in, it's always smooth. No pixel, and that's amazing to me. Because back then, after my last show, I was doing lots of different experiments, all about experiments. I've been doing that for a year. All of a sudden, this airbrush thing is pretty new to me and can't really handle it at first. So the image turned out really, painterly. In a new way, you can see the rawness, you can see human move behind it instead of digital. That's literally the core of, what's happening in painting right now. And then in terms of this digital images, I think that's what I should do in terms of my age, because I think one of the most important thing is, if you see my works, it need to be happening right now. It's an abstract sort of not conclusion. It's the abstract point of view of what's literally happening online, on social media, and around my, generation, how people behave online, all this excitement, ridiculousness, humorness, and there's all that, so that I think that's the right tool. So that's how this body of work turn out, I think.
I'm going to ask about the Birkin bags.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I had referenced Gangnam Style and how people didn't understand the concept.
Right.
And that's what you're talking about in your piece, right?
Yeah. Gangnam Style, I think one of the reasons that song is very popular, and also other popular songs, like we talk about Billie Eilish, the most popular singer here. Their song, when you first listen to it, it's kind of ridiculous. It's kind of too bold or too arrogant in a way. But how can people be so happy that you just don't care about music anymore, or don't care about how a mature people should behave anymore. So back to the Birkin bag, I made this piece took me, I think, the longest one. I did all the Birkin bags last year, and then I just storage it in my storage, and then after a year I bring it out, and it needs something. It's not aggressive enough. I mean, it got the point. Versus, Birkin bag, they're all the same, but they come from different colors, and how expensive they are, and how you can't get a bag without getting some accessories first. You know what I mean? But it needs something. Then I thought about Asian tourists. They just buy all these luxury bags out of pocket, full amount, cash. So that's really fascinating. I don't have personal opinion towards it. It just documented. So I put one of my signature elements, a stack of money, right in front of it. But first, I sort of dimmed the background, dimmed the whole painting, spray 3 or 4 coats of black. You can't even see it, to make it really dim. So all the highlights are pressed down, and then I have this, green, fluorescent, shocking green in front, and the title, I name it we always pay cash. Sort of complete the circle, I think, of this piece.
Your work, you had talked about how Gangnam Style was a song that only could come out like now.
You're right.
So are your paintings.
Yeah, that's really important.
Yeah.
That's really important to me and my works. I don't want like people to see my works and can't guess what age I am or when did I make this piece.
On the 3D ones, the weapons.
Yeah.
Go ahead and talk about those.
So I kind of like how in the games they always have lots of guns on the ground, but the one that you can pick up is 3D. You can see it's 3D. The other one is just stickers, on the ground. I kind of like how the very first like 3D games ignore all these guns on the ground that you cannot interact with. So I like the idea. So I paint 2 canvases with like on a flat surface with that gun. Try to make a gun really a game-like, golden, flat, and really raw. And then I just went to Home Depot, bought some hardwares and attached them together. So you can really you can close it, lift it, or you can spread it out and hang on the wall. It's just interesting. It's just funny to me. Mainly the very first 3D games, not recently. The games are too, in terms of perfect, but in my opinion, it's not, because it's getting too close to what human being real look like, and that's the term of uncanny valley, right? Getting people really sick of it, But this is when I play games, that defined me sort of.
Now let's go to my favorite pieces, the shoes.
It's mainly about the brands, I used to design, streetwears. So I really interested in this idea of brand in terms of this is one of the most famous, lawsuit between Michael Jordan and Chinese Jordan. Basically we have this Chinese brand called Jordan, but in the Chinese pronunciation. Using Jordan's image as a logo, so they have a lawsuit, and I kind of got excited about it. I'm not like in a position like I'm trying to see which right, which wrong. I just like this is funny, why not? More of these things, please. So this whole thing about shoe is about like brands or what's that called? Copyright, and so that Nike shoe, it was just a normal skateboard Nike, and then I sort of covered it with gesso. I filled in with a resin, and then sort of make it into like a sculpture-ish, prime it, and then repainted another style of Nike, which is Jordan, still Nike. So it's into AJ1. So it's basically a fake AJ1 on top of a real Nike. It's like a fake Nike on top of a real Nike. I just like that idea. Like, also this attitude is how I think is really important thing in our generation. This attitude, just make fun of everything and challenge what people, really serious about. The copyright. While I'm playing with it, what you gonna do? Like it's just like that. Yeah, so on that one, I sort of, in terms of painterly, again, airbrushed all this like Chinese brand on top of that's a real Jordan of mine. So I gave out one of my Jordan and then airbrushed the fake Jordan on it, and then the title on it will be trademark your mom trademark. So it's basically a cursing sentence in Chinese. To explain, it's like, who cares about your trademark anyway? So trademark your mom trademark, My images are from online too, No copyright, or no one cares about anymore. All these memes on social media, people play with movie clips, all the time. And then that's how I see this social media thing.
Okay, the big animal here.
This was from a really bad old video games, really early 21st century. Bad rendering, like glitch all around. It's like a glitch game. That was a dog, and then you see his leg is just different. Like they don't even bother to make those 4 legs the same. the head is like no mouth, like no nose, just a chunk of thing as the head. So I think this structure is so wrong that no one cares about what it is anymore. So I'd rather just make it into cheetah. And I like this little ridiculous thing on the screen being exaggerated into like a giant human-sized thing in front of you, so that you have this physical interaction, you know, with it.
This one here is like using Photoshop background.
Oh yeah, that one, the James Bond. Yeah, so that was the idea. Like when you create a 3D character on laptop or computer, you have this background, but it was not like Photoshop background. It's just like a black scene with a little platform. But I want to express that idea without like giving too much information about a software or stuff like that. I might do that later, maybe. Yeah. So Photoshop use that like no background MPG thing as the background, and then this head in front is so raw, you know. So again, it's a color field paintings, you know, like a chunk of black and a shape of skin tone color, and surrounded by this open-ended texture, you know, grades, pattern, you know. So yeah, so again, it doesn't matter if you recognize who this character is or not. It's a color field painting to start with.
And the last one, our girl here.
Yeah, yeah, that's like my signature piece, because I think I just found this girl. I don't even know where. I lost the original picture, you know. Again, I think the leg is really sexy.
Yeah, she's wearing her tight jeans.
Yeah, and you know, and the high heels is ridiculous. It's weird. Everything's weird, but also sexy. And the rawness of the floor, I kind of like it. Like so raw. You know, everything's raw but sharp. That's the same with my paintings, you know. So this painting, you have a little bit of everything, you know, in terms of, you know, sharpness versus blurriness, carefulness versus subconsciousness, a bright color versus the blackest black paint that I use. Yeah, it's a little bit of everything, I think, you know. My favorite colors on it. Yeah. So there's that. Again, it was a smaller piece, 24 by 48. So because I'm really excited about the solo show, so I made a way bigger version. That's 72 by 36. Makes it much better and a main piece in this show, I think.
I was going to have you sit over there, in fact, but I thought she would take over.
Oh, the vibe, yeah.
Yeah, because of the fluorescent.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, she's too powerful in the corner over there.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring that point, like, in terms of how powerful a painting can be. So that's the whole, you know, minimalism's idea, right? How a piece function on a wall. Yeah, so I think that's also important too, you know, the function, how big of a wall a painting can dominate. Yeah, that's always been my interest.